I see what ho, chaps and chappets, Game Chap and Bertie here.
Yes.
Yes, indeed, fellows, and I do say we have here quite some blockbuster news, old boy. It seems Nintendo have been, well, at least considering movies, old chap.
Most certainly are. Movies, films and other such words which relate to the big screen, believe it or not.
And get us all very excited, that's
Well,
right.
certainly.
So what exactly is the scoop here, old chap?
Well, it would seem that the amazing Spider-Man producer, and Avi Arad, sent an email to Sony Pictures, their head that is, Amy Pascal,
Right.
showing photos of himself with Mr. Miyamoto and Mr. Iwata.
From Nintendo, that's
From
right.
Nintendo.
Now, yes, it seems that he has claimed, along with these photos in his email, he was the proud father of Mario the animated film.
Most certainly. He's made these communications and said, hey, look, I'm the proud father of Mario the animated film. Quite a statement.
That's quite something to say. So then what happened, old chap?
Well, then Pascal, that is Amy Pascal, the Sony person, then forwards the email saying Avi closed Mario Brothers Animated.
Ah, in other words...
So closed as in closed deal.
Yes, that's right. In other words, he's got this deal for Mario Brothers the animated film. That's right.
Yes.
Then Michel Couyate, president of production at Sony Pictures Animation, also sent Mr. Arad, the producer, a big basket of Mario merchandise and goodies, saying, thank you, Avi. Let's build a Mario empire. I can think of 3 to 4 movies right out of the gate on this. So huge.
My goodness me, she most certainly did. So there he is. He's now got a pile of, a huge rack full of Mario goodies. And then they're talking about, oh goodness me, this is exciting. I can think of loads of ideas for new movies or whatever, follow-on movies or whatever.
That's right, and of course this will be very exciting news for the legions of fans of Mario and Nintendo in general, I'm sure.
Well, most certainly it's a big thing. Now, Arad then later claimed that the deal wasn't closed.
No.
But this was just the beginning.
That's right. Mr. Arad, he later said, no, this is not quite finalised, but we're just starting things off. But certainly it seems from the buzz of excitement generated in those emails there that certainly something has got off the ground here, old chap.
Well, it most certainly does. It's certainly exciting. There's something certainly bubbling and boiling in there somewhere. But of course, lots of people are going to be very excited about this, but they're also going to ask questions, which we will try to address here, such as, is it real?
Is it real? That's the stinger of the question, old chap. That's the biggest one, I have to say. Well, certainly we do know, Fiddles, that this communication has taken place, so we can certainly say, yes, the negotiations are real, but of course whether the films themselves are real will come down to whether the deals actually go through on both sides, and assuming both parties don't back out.
Most certainly, yes indeed. And of course, the other, is it viable? Well, probably yes, I think it is, because obviously Nintendo, they've got a lot of competition with the other main players with consoles, etc. and games, so they're going to be looking at things like this to increase their profits, basically. And Mario, after all, is a very, very popular character out there. Very popular indeed.
So I think the question we have to ask here is, does it make sense to have a Mario animated film? Well, if you ask me, I think it does make sense. And of course, it would not be the first time we've seen a sort of Mario animated sketch like this. Do you remember these, I say?
Ah, yes, of course, yes. Quite a well-known sketch and done very well, I think, at the time. It's quite compelling to watch.
It is, old boy. Now, of course, they were the intros to Mario Golf and Mario Tennis on the GameCube back in those days, I think.
Yes.
And quite well done. So certainly, it would not be the first time you've seen something like that, with all the humour and the comedy there, etc. and so forth. Now, of course, the question that then has to be asked, is it a bit of an unlikely marriage here between Nintendo and Sony for the film?
Well, that's an interesting point, but just looking at the whole idea of the animation, this, of course, would be quite a new concept, bringing this computer game characters to the big screen.
Yes.
This is quite an interesting thing, and quite a challenge, perhaps, for them to pull it off and get it done right.
That's right.
Now, of course, interesting that you should say that, yes. The marriage there between Sony and Nintendo, of course, basically rival gaming companies.
Yes, indeed, for 20 years or so, they have been
Yes.
bitter rivals in the industry, fighting tooth and claw, as it were, and with nary a friendly word between the two of them, I must say, although recently the Sony chap did, I believe, say that they want Nintendo to succeed because it's important for their market position or something like that. So, I don't know, maybe their relations have warmed up recently, who knows?
Well, when there's money involved, a lot of times things can warm up very quickly and easily.
How true, yes,
Yes.
indeed, very true, old chap. So, indeed, I think certainly the possibility is there. It's not completely without the spectrum of possibility, but it's unlikely all the same. Now, I do think that after the failure of the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Film, starring Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, Nintendo have been fiercely protective of their rights and very hesitant to make any films.
Yes, of course. Now, I don't know whether you all remember that, everyone listening. It's way back there in 1993, as you say, with Bob Hoskins.
Yes.
And, of course, it wasn't very popular. Now, it was real life. Bob Hoskins played Mario.
Yes.
And they had a go at it. They had a go.
They did.
I remember, I think, seeing some parts of it. Yes, not particularly compelling, but maybe they've looked at that and thought, well, look, the real life one didn't work very well, and it didn't come off very well. Why don't we try it animated? Because that's closer to how the game looks, and people can familiarise with it more, perhaps.
I think so, and to be honest, I mean, I think I also may have seen parts of that film, but when I saw the title there, Super Mario Brothers, I expected to see Super Mario Brothers, and instead I got these chaps with their jet boots and wrenches they were carrying around, and they didn't look the slightest bit like the Super Mario Brothers old chap.
No,
Just two actors, you know.
Well, no, it was a flop.
It was
that's
a flop.
the thing. And of course, filmmakers, the big thing they're trying to avoid at all costs is a flop. And you hopefully avoid flops by getting it right, getting to the table and planning before
Yes.
you go out there. So they thought, okay, animated.
Yes.
I would agree with them, I'm sure everyone else there would agree, that we would want to see perhaps a film animated rather than having some figures in it for real, or actors or whatever.
You mean real actors, yes.
Real actors, yes,
Yes.
trying to do the job.
I think definitely with a character like Mario, who is of course an animated character to start with, that yes, the animated way is the most sensible way to go as regards filmmaking. And of course we've had some very popular animated films with
Yes.
Toy Story,
Yes.
Finding Nemo and many others in the past. And it does actually raise the question, which film house should do this animation? Because if Nintendo wanted to, they could approach perhaps Pixar, DreamWorks or any other large animation studio. And indeed it seems that the chap from Sony must be feeling very proud of himself right now for having, well, at least got this deal into the early stages of negotiation with the Nintendo chaps, I think.
Well, yes, that would certainly be, a big thing, and I think we don't know who might actually do the job itself. But of course, I think the idea's there on the table. They're obviously rather excited about it. Everyone will be excited about it, no doubt. But whether it comes off and how it comes off is going to be the important thing.
Yes, now of course another point here. Although Nintendo are of course rather, shall we say, hesitant about producing new films there, I do think that recently they've taken a bit of a bashing to their profits. They have seen some tumbling profits, and of course the Wii U up until very, very recently, they're in quite some dire straits, I think, Jeff. So perhaps a trustworthy producer could well woo them over to this idea of a potentially very profitable film.
Well, they could do, yes, I think that it's very, very possible that could be the case. And as we said earlier, money is the deciding factor in this, no doubt about it.
Yes.
That's what they'll be looking for. So they won't want it to flop. Now, bringing it to the big screen, of course, is a slight risk because, in the community itself, it seems like everyone knows Mario, everyone loves Nintendo, and it's great. But when you go out there in the street, a lot of people don't watch Mario, they don't play Mario, and they don't even know who he is.
Exactly.
So you've got to be careful there. You've got to sort of discern, is there enough people out there to go buy tickets to come and watch this thing? And
Yes.
I think possibly there is.
I think if you were talking about a character who was less popular, then maybe you'd have to take that into consideration, certainly, old chap. Although in this case, I mean, Mario, he really is Mr. Video Game, old chap. He's arguably the most famous game character there is, so I do think it's quite a sensible idea. And certainly, if they were to see how well this film did, they could then decide whether they even wanted to take this further and actually start making movies for more franchises of theirs. For example, I don't know, Zelda, Metroid, Fire Emblem, etc.
Well, that would be interesting, yes. I mean, whether they would be big enough, as you say, Mario's very big, and I think you would need Mario to try and feel that whole idea, something that big. Whether those ones would be big enough, we don't know, but it's certainly a possibility. I mean, there's the Metroid series, you could run a good one on that, couldn't you?
Oh yes, and of course Metroid Other M, for all the slating it got in terms of criticism, it had a very good story, some good animation once again, and quite a compelling storyline there. Zelda, of course, the Legend of Zelda series is ripe for a film to be made, absolutely ripe, with Ganondorf and Zelda and Link all in there fighting over the Triforce.
Yes.
And of course again, if it was popular enough, Fire Emblem could also do a film with its epic medieval and sort of fantasy type storyline there.
Well, yes, I think they could. Yes, the chances, the opportunities are certainly there, but whether it'll come off, we don't know. But at the moment, they're going to be looking at this one, rightfully taking Mario as the biggest one first and seeing where they can go with it.
So, I mean, the question here I would also be asking, did this producer of The Amazing Spider-Man, Mr. Arad, did he approach Nintendo, or did Nintendo approach him?
Well, that's a good point. We don't know that. Who approached who or whatever it might have been. Or maybe it was just, could have been over drinks or something like that. They could have met someone, who knows.
Well,
we don't know. But that remains to be seen. But the facts of the matter are, they're talking about it, and it could well now be in the pipeline.
Yes, I think there's a very good chance it could be. And this news, I must say, I could hardly believe what I was reading at first, because I was sure Nintendo weren't interested in films. But maybe recent times have softened them up a bit. Who knows?
Well, yes, and just we're talking about that, you see. Where could it lead? Could it lead, we were talking about some of those lesser ones now, but, could it lead perhaps to cartoons and things like that coming out?
Well, of course,
It's an interesting point.
Perhaps a rebirth of those classic Super Mario cartoons from back in the day. They were classic, weren't they, Elby? And of course, we could see a rebirth of those with a new animated series, perhaps. And indeed, the president of production at Sony Pictures, of course, sent Mr. Ared a big basket of, guess what? Yeah. Mario merchandise. And we all know what films mean.
Almost
they
certainly
mean merchandise, don't they?
Yes, I've got the figure here from the film or whatever, and I've got the baddie in the film.
T-shirt and everything else, that's right.
Yes, that's right, yes.
So there's a big array of merchandise, no doubt, that could be produced. Now, the question I would also be asking here, Elby, who would the actors be in this film? Would they be speaking for the main characters? Would Mario talk, or would he just make sort of grunting noises like he does in the games?
Well, that would be a good point. Certainly there'd have to be actors and talkers behind it, I think. I don't think they get away with just grunts and sort of like a Link job, he just doesn't say anything, he just goes, and all this. I don't think they would certainly need the actors. Whether they'd use the current voice actor for Mario, such like, we don't know. They may use another one, they may have to use another one for acting purposes or whatever. We'd have to see. But another interesting point, of course, is what sort of what would its form take? What would it be about?
In a Mario movie, old chap?
Yes, the Mario movie. What would it be about?
I just have to rack my brains and see if I can come up with an idea here, old chap.
Yes.
Let's see. Bowser could kidnap Princess. No.
Well, exactly.
That's unlikely, old chap.
What would it be about? That's the thing. Would they get away with doing the classic old thing that Bowser's kidnapped Daisy, whatever it is, or Princess Peach, and all the rest of them? He's kidnapped everyone, and now he's got to rescue them. Will they get away with that, or will they try to, because people are familiar with that, or will they try to spin something different? An entirely different storyline and take a chance with that. I don't know, maybe Peach kidnaps Bowser.
Peach kidnaps I'd like to see how she does that, old chap.
Yes.
I don't know. But in any case, Fennels, yes, it seems that they could go a number of ways with this. And of course, the lady there said that she had many ideas right out of the gate. And of course, there are many places it could go. It could be set in the Mushroom Kingdom, perhaps with Bowser wreaking his usual havoc, or the Mario Brothers could go somewhere else entirely.
Well, most certainly. I mean, you could have Bowser as the main baddie there, just putting out ideas. His helpers in a Waluigi and the other Wario, sort of his helpers sort of thing. And then you could have, I don't know, Donkey Kong appearing in the jungle on Mario's side at some time when they're passing through there.
Yoshi's in there too.
It's a desert world and Yoshi's over that or something. I don't know, something going on. You could have loads of different ideas. And they could travel around in Mario Karts, couldn't they?
Oh, yes, they could. Yes. Or warp pipes, old chap, really. It should be warp
both,
pipes.
Why not?
Now, also, I just thought of something then. I mean, Mario does talk sometimes. It's a me, Mario. He just said, but if you think about it, just allow me here, Fennels. Do you hear me? I'm going to talk like Mario for a longer time, okay? So I'm going to talk like Mario like this a very long time, and I say many things. I'm going to save the princess from Bowser, okay? But if I keep talking like Mario like this, after a bit of time, it becomes a little bit annoying, maybe. You'll say, oh, this is too much talk.
But it is okay though, because if it's okay and you're doing in the film, it's alright because it's very nice, and then you have got
Luigi exactly.
Also.
Yes.
Don't forget the Luigi.
Luigi, number one. So I think we have to ask ourselves, yes. Would Mario talking like that for the entire film perhaps become a little bit, shall we say, wearing, old chap? Well, I don't know.
I don't think so. They could tone it down. We're used to that. Maybe he might not say that many things, and there could be different characters. Perhaps he'll be with his old mate Luigi as well.
His brother, in fact.
Yes, so they can just talk amongst themselves and things. We don't know. I'm sure they'd work around that one. Maybe not as bad as his son. Maybe he's toned down a little bit.
Yes, I think so. I think he might
he's
be.
Very nice.
So, well, Mr. Martinet is going to find himself quite busy, that's for sure. The voice actor for Mario.
I think he'd like to think he would be,
Well, yes, but I can't really see anyone else other than Mr. Martinet voicing Mario, old chap. It has to be him, doesn't it? It really does.
Well, it could well be, yes. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, he is Mario.
Well, yes, I suppose so, yes. And I thought sure he'd be very happy with another couple of Lambos.
Yes.
Why not?
Or four, that's for sure. Yes. Well, indeed, Vanels. That's quite a good question, I say. But indeed, I think that both Bertie and I are quite excited about this prospect. I'm sure we love the idea of a film, but let's just hope the producer does a good job, not like some cheap shot spin-off film, the likes of which you may have seen before.
Well, yes, exactly. I think they'll get over that with, as we said, the animated idea. I think that's it. I think to use that real actors could be a disaster. I don't think it would work.
Like it was last time, really.
Like it was last time, yes, and I don't think they'll fall for that old trick again.
No.
But the animation style, yes, we've seen it. I mean, look, Toy Story mentioned earlier. Would Toy Story work with real live actors? I mean, can you imagine trying to put that?
No.
Possibly, but it just wouldn't be the same, would it?
It wouldn't,
It
no.
wouldn't be the same. So I think they're on the right line with animation.
Yes.
Whether or not they can make it work for the big screen and really it would take off, we don't know. But, I mean, you know, all Nintendo fans and Mario fans are going to want this to happen and go and watch it.
But then on the other hand, I mean, I just allow myself a bit of digression here. If I was to think of a Metroid movie, I think I'd want that to have live-action actors. I don't think I'd want that to be animated.
Well, yes, no, indeed. Well, that's a different thing, you see.
Mostly because of Zero Suit Samus, but also for other reasons, you know.
Yes, of course. Well, yes. Now, Metroid is a different type of thing, of course, because that you can see that in a real life sort of, you know, alien environment type of film.
Yes.
Whereas, you know, Mario, he doesn't fit so well into that.
That's right.
He's an animated character.
He's a cartoon by his nature.
Yes.
Well, you could have a real Samus and perhaps a CG Ridley there and various other things in
Yes.
this gritty Metroid setting. But in Mario, you want to have animated characters in this happy sort of carefree world he lives in.
Yes, most certainly is. They've got the power certainly to market it, no doubt about between them. You know, Sony, Nintendo, they've got the marketing power to put it out there, and I think to make it work if they do a good job.
I think so. Yes, I think it would be very popular. But just yes, I suppose we're going to have to wait and see exactly how this one turns out. As with all things, and certainly it's quite an exciting piece of news for Nintendo, who have been notably quiet on the film front for now 21 years.
Well, most certainly they have, yes, of course, and not to mention the game spin-offs they could make from the film, probably as well.
Super Mario, the movie, the game.
Yes, the movie, the game, and
Or is it
everything else.
Super Mario, the game, the movie, the game?
Yes, they don't care as long as they get it right. They're not bothered.
As long as they get the
As long
dollars.
as people come along and put the dollars down, they don't care.
Well, there you are, else. Do you think a Mario film would be super, or should Nintendo keep it in the question block? What do you say, I say?
Yes, would you go and watch it? What do you think? Do you want this to come off? What do you want to just let us know and see? And we'll see what they say.
We'll see what they say, and we'll keep our ear to the ground for more news, which we shall report to you as it comes out, I say. This has been Game Journal Buddy with the latest Nintendo news. Do join us again, I say. We look forward to seeing you then.
Oh, yes.
Until then.